Hey, it's Kellen.
Tyson here.
And of course, AO.
And on today's episode, we have a very special guest, Alex Lombard, and he is going to be giving us some really sick game on how to conquer the entrepreneurial and social media space. Stay tuned.
This is Diversified Game.
A podcast giving entrepreneurial advice from a diverse and inclusive perspective with Kellen.
He may agree, he may oppose, and it's more than just race. It's about, ideas.
Tyson.
When you're going against the odds, you've got to be creative, you've got to innovate, you've got to stand out.
And AL.
Focus more on execution and application and less on excuses.
So let the game begin.
All right. And so, Alex, how are you today, man?
I'm doing well. Excited to be on here. Thanks for having me.
No, it's really such a pleasure. I mean, we love young entrepreneurs. Not that we're old ourselves, right? But we love, just kind of spreading the information and knowledge that people can share because, there's never a deficit when you're sharing knowledge, right? It only comes out in the black on the balance sheets in life. So happy to have you on here today. And Alex, let us know a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you got.
Yeah, sure. Let me give you a quick intro. So name's Alex Lombard. I live out here in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm originally from the Midwest, grew up in Michigan for all those listening out in the cold. I know it's pretty cold out there right now. But that's part of the reason I moved out here. And it's been an amazing ride this last year of my life living out in this, new environment, the people I've met. It's been incredible. And so for me, I grew up when I was younger. I was always kind of the kid that was looking for something different. I never really believed kind of in the normal traditional system of just going out there and, working your butt off in school, getting good grades, going to get a job, working 9 to 5, and then you kind of just do that until you retire. And not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that if you're truly happy doing that. But for me personally, I just believed that my purpose was bigger, that I was supposed to do something more. I wanted freedom, both time and money. And so at the age of 21 years old, I got into entrepreneurship. Before I really knew what that meant, I just got introduced to an opportunity. It was a kind of a sales job, a direct sale in the direct sales industry. And that kind of ignited the whole career. And, long story short, the reason I think my story is so relatable to people is because I struggled for 5 years. I quit my day job as soon as I got into entrepreneurship, had zero cash flow at all, had no guidance, no mentorship, had no idea what I was doing. I was just this young kid, just energetic and was just running around, doing whatever it took. And I struggled for about 5 years before I finally kind of, got that breakthrough where I started making good money, was able to travel and, started living out the life that I'm able and blessed to live today. So, that's, quick little background on who I am.
All right. Awesome. Now, and just want to touch on the 5 years thing because before coming on the show, you actually did a 2-minute drill for us, which you gave your best concise advice. And it's kind of for you that haven't listened to it yet, go check that out because he tells the bamboo story, and I call it bamboo time. So, you really lived the bamboo story. So a lot of people don't have that type of patience. Can you tell us how did you have that kind of patience in the process?
Yeah, really good question. So patience has actually always been one of my biggest struggles. And even to this day, it honestly still is in various different areas of my life. I've always just, again, I've been such a hyperactive person, living in today's world. It's like happening now, with social media and things like that. And so the way that I did it, though, to be honest with you, was because I literally convinced myself that I was psychologically unemployable. So therefore, I had no other option. It was like I literally had to make it, and that's it. There's no other option. Like I didn't even question the fact of going back into school or going to get a job. Like that never even really crossed my mind. Just simply because I wanted what I saw so bad. You got to understand, when I was in this journey, I saw people very early on that were younger than me, making tons of money, that were no better than me. They were traveling the world. They were literally living the life that, I was chasing at the time. And so because of that, it really planted the seed that, hey, this was actually possible. And so for the 5 years, it really was it was a struggle because I was so impatient But at the same time, I also was just so convinced that I was going to get there, that I just kept going, and just kept battling through.
That belief.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So now, Ale and I were talking about, the social media side of business, right? And obviously, I know for our company, that was a big catalyst to our success. And now, and for you, I mean, undeniably, that is part of your success. And so you've gotten to work with some pretty cool and interesting people, some, big name entrepreneurs and people in business and things like that. Tell us a little bit about them, and then maybe a little bit about how that relationship kind of happened, or how you ended up working with them, and some of the details of, as much as you can give, of what you actually did in their business.
Yeah, good question. So I'm really big on what I preach to a lot of my clients is, gain influence, and then you can work with influencers, right? So gain influence, build credibility for yourself, because that's really what it is. When you have, at the end of the day, in today's generation, if you have a lot of followers and it's legit, you're an influencer. It doesn't really matter what you do. People just see that and they're automatically like, you have credibility. And whether we like that or not, that's just the way today's society works. And so I'm very big on, building up that credibility on these platforms. I like Instagram specifically. I've been on the platform for over 5 years, or something. I kind of started early on in my journey and just stayed consistent with it. And, but I'm always big on, building credibility, building influence for yourself, because once you have that established, you then have access to big names out there. The reason I'm able to work with people like, Dan Locke or the ClickFunnels team. We just closed a deal with Dean Graziosi. I'm about to be on Onyx and Gall's podcast. He did like 200 million last year, which is crazy. And just be able to work with a lot of these higher level people literally is because I have the credibility. So when I shoot them a message, when I email them and I kind of show them, hey, here's my accounts, here's what I've done, just kind of like I did with you guys, they see that and they're like, wow, okay, this guy's legit. They get hit up all the time, but they get hit up by people that really don't have any sort of credibility. And at the end of the day, that's what they're looking for. They want people that know what they're doing. They have a track record. They're able to kind of name drop in there and actually have, back it up. And so, that's what I'm big on. Gain influence, build influence for yourself, take that influence and then go use it, go leverage it, so that you can go work and get yourself in the door of some pretty big names and big companies out there. And so that's exactly what I've done. And then in terms of like working with them, it's kind of different, per person. But majority of the people that we, work with, it's anything from consulting to a lot of those guys that I kind of mentioned. It's more just promotion. They're coming to us because we have big platforms and they really want to scale their accounts and get their books out there and, drive traffic. And so that's kind of what we've been doing on, for those guys.
Awesome.
And can you tell us, since you started so young, and we all on the phone started, whatever young is. I've done this for such a long time. I don't know if I can still even call myself young, but I will, because anything under 40 is under 40, and that's when life starts. But when you started, I know guys who started like at 13, and they were doing like YouTube and Nat King Cole's website, right? And they were working at 13, and a lot of it for free. How did you get your start? And did you find that there was pushback from folks older than you, like, hey, who is this kid? And are we really going to write him a check?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, for me, I was in the direct selling industry when I started. I started at 21 years old. So it was a little bit, I was obviously still very young. But like you just said, I saw people that were like literally 13, 14 that were crushing it. But I started at 21 years old, and when I started, I was in that direct selling space. And what I kind of did in that space was, when I got into Instagram and social media, I was actually pretty smart about it, to where I wasn't out there, messaging and trying to get in contact with the people I am today. What I did rather is I got connected with like leaders that were inside of that industry. So other people that were my age that were just crushing it in that same exact industry. And what I was able to do is kind of leverage my, because back then it wasn't, I'm almost 27 now. So, almost 6 years ago, that back then it was definitely more rare to be really big on Instagram. And so even when I had 20, 30,000 followers, these guys are making millions. They're 23, 24 years old, and they don't have really a following at all. And so I actually still was able to kind of use that philosophy of, hey, I have a little bit of credibility and influence in this one category. And so I'm going to show you that and see if I can work with you. But I definitely had my fair share of, phone calls with some pretty big guys that were, just like older, and they're like, I don't really get this social media stuff. You're just a kid. There's no way that, we're going to pay you to do this. And so it kind of was all over the board. But, the one thing is, like I said, I was pretty smart about it when I first started, because I knew I kind of had a leverage point. And if I kind of started, in the same realm that I'm already in, then there's some connection there, and I'm able to kind of get my foot in the door easier.
Excellent. Here's a question for you on the social media side. Considering that Instagram is your platform of choice, how have you been able to, I guess, acclimate with all the changes that it's been going through, and being able to consult your clients on being patient through all of these different changes, algorithms, and formats and functionalities and things of that nature?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm really big on just like embracing changes, and I'm really open about that. Like I have some groups, and obviously clients and things like that, where we talk about that stuff. And I'm always very, very upfront, like, hey, listen, Instagram's evolving. It's a platform that's growing, it's evolving, they're making changes very rapidly. And you got to just embrace the change. When they launch something new, instead of, kind of having that like fear towards it, go and embrace it. Start using it. Start messing with it. Start coming up with a strategy that you can do, with that specific thing. For example, with IGTV, they launched the TV side of things. That hasn't really done too well, but when it launched, I was in our group kind of telling people, hey, here's a new feature. This is an opportunity for you to kind of get ahead of the game. And we started strategizing and coming up with different ideas of what you could actually, utilize that tool for. And, for example, go and make a little 10-minute, video of you doing whatever it is you do, whatever your market's all about. Maybe you're an entrepreneur and you want to, have a motivational, inspirational kind of throwdown. Maybe you do that once a week and you kind of chop it up and put it on there and promote for it, and just start building out like a following in that arena. And so, when Instagram's changing, when it comes to algorithm stuff, that's not as much like teaching people, because it's just not a whole lot that you can do. They're always making changes with that. It's more of just kind of riding it out and, testing different things and seeing what works, what doesn't work. But when they make like upfront changes on the front end of the platform, like again, Instagram stories or IGTV, things like that, those are a lot easier because you can kind of come up with a cool strategy to embrace it and actually use it to your advantage.
Yeah. A question, we always kind of talk on this platform about teaching the clients, especially, there's a difference sometimes between, the corporate and then the influencer who happen just to, start to get, $10,000 plus a month doing something, and you're trying to teach them something that, they have one brand, you work with many. Do you find that, especially I guess in the beginning, but now that social media is so old, but do you find that clients, they're easy to be taught, and is there a preference? Do you like corporate more because corporate is easier to spend money, or do you like the influencer who is a sensation now? Like, what's your preference, and do you find it difficult to kind of, because none of us are sending small invoices. And so people are like, wait, you want me to spend X amount of dollars for that? So, corporate, they're going to burn the money. But a regular, influencer might be like, oh, I didn't know it cost that much. Like, give us your process on that, or your experience, because it may be totally different for you.
Yeah, really good question. So I guess it depends on, who you're talking with. That's kind of the biggest thing. So what I mean is, for me, my number one clientele is a 6, 7, 8-figure earner that's crushing it in whatever industry they're in. So whether it's real estate, network marketing, insurance, e-com, drop shipping, whatever, and they're doing really, really well for themselves. Again, they're doing 6 figures, 7 figures, even some of them are doing 8 figures. And again, all these different industries. And then, those people, it's extremely, extremely easy, to get them on our service or get them working with us in any sort of, fashion, because they understand it. They understand that when I tell them, hey, you're an influential figure in your space, but other than your space, nobody knows who you are. You don't have a brand online.
Right.
And I always say, I truly do believe that the people with the biggest brands over the next 5 to 10 years, they're not only going to make the most money, but they're also going to be able to create the most impact in whatever way they want. And so when they kind of hear that and they start to see that, they realize the power of it and what they can do. And most of them are already on Instagram as well, so that's always a plus. I don't usually, it's pretty rare that I'll get in contact with somebody that's not already on the platform. Usually I'm working with people that have a couple thousand followers and they're just trying to scale it, and they have the money to do it. And so in that case, the individual influencer is way easier to close because they're kind of already in that world, and they have the money to do it. And then when it comes to corporate businesses, we've actually found that they're a lot harder, just because the thing is majority of traditional businesses are owned by, people that are, I think the average business owner is 56 years old in America or something like that. And so, you got to realize those people have been in the same routine. They've built their empire over the last 30, 40 years without social media. So here comes some kid, saying, hey, if you want to make it over the next 10 years, you need to be online. Well, that doesn't always sit well with all of them, especially when they do kind of see the cost and, they're comparing it and things like that. They just don't really get it, And so I've actually found that it's a lot harder. But within that, though, the last thing I'll kind of say is that within the corporate side of things, when you do kind of land somebody like a CEO who does understand the power of social media and the power of building a brand, it's way more lucrative because they do have much bigger budgets. And if they actually get it, they're willing to, pour into it. So it can go both ways, but I've found for me personally working, with the direct individual that just understands the power of building that brand, that's been the best person to work with.
Awesome. So, and I'll just pretty much get what I got out of that was, so novel ideas, work with people who already understand the value of the platform and are using it, that are looking for your service, versus trying to change the mind of someone who hasn't gotten it so far, even with Instagram being so present, social media being so present in the lives of most consumers. If they're not already on there, it's probably going to be a tough sell, right? It's going to be tough to see the value, because they look at their business and say, well, we've already done well up to this point without it. Mm-hmm. Why do we need to now, pretty much to them, it would become not an investment, but another bill. Why do we need to add a bill? And you're telling us that this bill that we're adding is going to make us more successful, but we're already winning. So
exactly.
That's awesome. Great information there for sure. Now, when it comes to you building your account, you amassing the followings that you have across three different accounts, one rocketing towards $1 million, right? The Success Club. Mm-hmm. Then we have Vision Wall, which is more your agency / personal account. That one's heading towards 200,000, somewhere in that area. And then Invigorate, which you're the CMO for Invigorate, and that is heading towards 300, or am I off?
150 on that one. That's
150 on that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So now with building those accounts, I mean, did you start with one and build that one up, and then kind of use that one to build the other ones? Did you build one and that one kind of, crept up, but then another one skyrocketed? Tell us about that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So Vision Wall is actually the original one that I started with. And that one's kind of always been, my starting point, and kind of where I learned the ropes of Instagram. And, with the other ones, it's kind of the same idea. It takes a lot of consistent effort, right? Over and over and over again. Consistently posting, consistently engaging, consistently networking with people. The Invigorate page was actually a blessing. We were able to acquire that account, so we didn't build that from scratch. That's the other big thing that a lot of people don't realize in the Instagram world, is that you don't necessarily have to start from zero. There's people that are, they'll build accounts and, and they want out and they'll be willing to sell it, and you kind of just take it over, rebrand it, things like that. And everyone kind of has their opinion on it. But at the end of the day, if you're looking to build a business and make money off Instagram, that's a great way to do it. It's no different than really buying real estate. The way I see it, you don't have to build the house from scratch to actually make the money. And so, So I mean, doing that, and then, you know, just again, man, just growing them consistently, and staying connected with, you know, a lot of the cool thing with me is that I got in so early that I was able to network my way kind of to the top of that market of like the motivational, inspirational quote type pages, to where I'm directly connected with literally the biggest accounts in that space. And I was connected with them before they were big, you know, and so I was able to really kind of work with them and, you know, figure out the ropes with them and grow with them and be in the same like engagement groups and shout outs and of course, you know, cross promotion and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of, you know, how I did it. But I mean, at the end of the day, again, like the biggest thing for Instagram for me is just the fact that I've literally stayed consistent with it every single solitary day for almost 6 years now.
Right. Now, what's funny is, and I'm glad that you're being transparent. I can tell that there's transparency in there. So I really appreciate that, because AL and myself were actually kind of in that I guess, not to make it sound like a dirty word, but like we're in the underground community of Instagram, you know, where we did, you know, shout for shout and shared and, you know, buying, selling accounts, different things like that, you know, acquiring, if you will. But we were more so in the, you know, model space and cars.
Okay.
So yeah, so we, you know, we got to work with a lot of models, a lot of different car companies that wanted different things built, and, you know, grow their followings and things like that. So I definitely appreciate that, because that, I feel like, is a part of Instagram and a part of business, right, that people don't talk about, because they're almost like, I don't want to say ashamed of it, but they're like, well, I don't know how people would look at me if they knew that I, like, you know, could build pages, and that, you know, this world of social media, sometimes people don't realize a lot of it is manufactured. You know what I mean? It's done on purpose. You know, and it's not a bad thing, you know. When you plan something, you don't feel bad about planning it, right? You do that on purpose. You act with intent. So it's the same thing with building your social media following. Like, yes, it can happen accidentally, but it's more likely to happen when you actually plan on it happening, right? When you make those steps and strides to focus in that area. So I just want to say I appreciate that transparency, and just keep rocking it like that. Now, what is it that made you feel like you could do this, and not like, I just feel like I can be successful at anything I touch type of thing, but specifically social media, and specifically in the entrepreneurial and mindset like space?
Yeah,
that's very specific, you know.
No, definitely. So, I mean, with social media, I got involved with it, and the reason I kind of, you know, really launched with it was when I was first starting out in my career. I actually had a buddy of mine that was in the same kind of sales force that I was in, and he built up an account to about 5,000 followers, and it was like a boat page, like an exotic boat page, and that was pretty big. You know, I've never met anyone at that time that had that many followers, especially someone in my personal network. And he actually showed it to me, and he was like, hey, man, you know, check this out. Like, I got this page. And he was telling me about how he got these like free tickets for him and his dad to like fly to Vegas to go to some show, and, you know, off of his Instagram. And it really just like ignited, like, that was the first time I ever heard of anybody getting something for free, making money, just doing anything of value with social media. At that point in time, I didn't even have an Instagram, because I just thought it was stupid. I was like, I don't have a cool life. I'm not going to go post about my dog, you know? And so he showed that to me.
Although you love your dog, though.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, no one else really cared. So it's like, it doesn't really make sense. But yeah, I mean, that was really the first kind of like seed that was planted in my head. Like, wow, you know, maybe there actually is something with this. And then what ended up happening was, not too long after that, I actually got on Instagram. And the same guy, you know, kind of planted the seed in my head. I got on the platform purely to recruit. I was in a business where, you know, we were incentivized to recruit, you know, other salesmen and sell products and you know, in the health and wellness space. And so, you know, I was in that space, and it was, again, my first venture, and, you know, I was new, and I was just doing whatever it took. And he kind of, you know, told me, hey, you know, there's a lot of people online. Like, what if you built a brand and you use that to bring over a sales force? You were able to sell products, and you were able to kind of build out a team. And so I really liked that idea. So I got online, I started Vision Wall. And the reason why I picked the motivational kind of inspirational space was kind of twofold. Number one, I knew that people in that same space, the people that I was looking for to kind of be on my team, would relate to that stuff, because I was kind of looking for, that entrepreneur minded person that was just willing to do whatever it took to go out there and hustle and make money and, and wanted to live that life. And so I knew they would relate to it. But then number two, I also saw, that was once I got on the platform, and that's when I started to see people that had, 50,000, 100,000 followers and more, that were making money, that were promoting, doing shout outs, that were getting sponsorships and promoting products. And, they were making money, and they were literally like making a bunch of money to the point where they were traveling, they were, had financial freedom, and, that just blew my mind. And so when I saw that whole world kind of open up, that really ignited something in me to the point where I was like, I'm going to do that, because I want to live like that. That was the first time in my life where I ever actually believed that it was possible to earn money, make a living from your phone, and then be able to just do whatever you want, and so that's really what ignited it for me. And it kind of, meshed together with, again, the same kind of entrepreneurial journey that I was on, the platform that I was working with at the time, doing the sales and selling the products, they kind of meshed together with the social media, and I wrote them both out. Obviously, I've gone through a lot of different changes in terms of like business goes, but with social media, I've always stayed very consistent with that, just because, again, I've always chased that kind of that dream, and it's been able to manifest, recently, which has been really cool.
And Tyson, we got to call Alex out, because he's like, I don't have this cool life. When you go to like his Instagram, he's rolling around.
Yeah, I know, right?
In Lamborghinis and, and
that's now, right?
Soon to be helicopters. So
I mean, that goes for the creation of it, right? I mean, I actually posted on our podcast page the other day. It's a cute little video of like a picture of a pig, and then he like bursts through the laptop. The sentiment was like, work, picture it and work till it becomes real. And I feel like, man, you embodied the hell out of that image. Because I mean, you literally, like, and I'm not even saying like you visualized it, but you literally used pictures to get there. Think about that.
Yeah.
Like,
That's cool.
Yeah, that's serious.
Visualize it. You used pictures to get there. And man, if that doesn't fire you up and get you motivated, like I'm not even saying for the listeners, I'm saying like you as an individual, as a human being, you, Alex, were like, I want this so bad that, man, I'm just going to make it happen and use pictures to get there. And now you're living that picturesque life that you envisioned for yourself, that lifestyle you're providing. You sound like you're happy, and that you found what you're good at and what your purpose is, and you're around people that are like you. And that, I mean, you have to wake up happy, man. Right? Yeah. I mean, am I wrong? Or are you like, nah, miserable?
No, definitely. No, I'm a very happy person. And it's cool because before I got into this whole journey, over 6 years ago, I actually grew up a very negative person. And it was just because I had no purpose. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew school just wasn't for me. Everybody else was kind of following that path I was talking about earlier. And I just wasn't happy because I didn't want to do that. But at the time, I didn't know what business was. I didn't know what social media was. It just wasn't big back then, and things like that. And so, no, man, I appreciate you saying that, because that was a huge transformation in my life after getting into this journey, because it's more than just, obviously making money is amazing, and having freedom is amazing. But, I just truly believe that progress is happiness, and I really do live my life in a progressive state where I'm always reading, I'm always learning, I'm always growing, I'm always developing my mindset, my skill set, things like that. And that's really what pushes, I believe, people to really truly feel fulfilled when they know they're progressing and growing in what they love to do.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's real talk. And a pastor friend of mine, he told me, he said, you do all these travels, and I love to travel with my kids, everything. We write books on our kids' travel, my wife and I. And he said, what are you doing all this for? And I'm like, I don't know. I've had the bug since I was 12. And he was like, well, ask yourself. I said, we just like to travel. And, growing up, I now can say, well, I like that my kids have the travel bug. I like that we can go different places, that, can kind of enrich them, because I'm kind of like you. School to me, I mean, I have an advanced degree, and I really don't know, besides, you know, me traveling and teaching class in grad school, what school did for me, because I just don't fall into school as really teaching. It's,
Right.
you know, it's into a lot of regurgitating, and I knew I'm a terrible employee, not because I show up late or call in sick. I just have ideas. And work isn't really always for ideas. But, you know, when you do all this traveling, and I see that, you know, faith is really important to you, as it is to all of us. Are you, what's your kind of give back, and when can we see it in a movie or a book?
Yeah. So say that last part again.
Kellen is a filmmaker, by the way. But go ahead, Kellen. Repeat that. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. No, I just want to know, you know, what's kind of your give back when you're doing all your business and your travels, and when can we see it in a book or a movie? Just because we know everybody has, you know, books in them, and I think everybody has at least one movie in them.
Yeah. I love that. I actually have a good buddy of mine who's a movie director as well, and he's starting to blow up in the scene. So that's cool. You know, it's funny. I never even considered writing a book until like this last week. So it's funny you kind of bring that up. And the reason why is because I was in the car with some of my good buddies who I've done business with, but they've never really like heard my full story. And we were just driving, and, you know, and I was basically breaking down my entire journey to them. And, you know, they were just mind blown. They're like, you need to write a book. And they were just dead serious about it, you know? And so I really started thinking about it. I'm like, man, that would be kind of cool. But one thing I am going to be doing in terms of like that sort of stuff is I'm going to be actually launching my own podcast here soon, which is going to be cool. I'm excited for that. And just getting into that whole world. And, you know, it's part of the reason I reached out to you guys. I was just kind of connecting and, you know, with other people that are just killing it in this space. And so, yeah, I want to get on there, and I'm going to just, you know, the whole purpose of it's going to be, you know, talking about everything that I do with my life and my journey, and using that story to help other people. And I want to, you know, talk in the mental and the physical. The spiritual is going to be a big one. Relationships, social, finances, you know, entrepreneurship, all of that is going to be kind of incorporated within the podcast. And so, you know, with all of that, I don't specifically remember your exact question, but for me, you know, something in terms of like giving back, you know, one thing that I really try to do a lot of is when I do travel and I'm in front of people, I always try to do my absolute best to kind of connect God with whatever I'm doing, you know, because I just wouldn't be here without my faith personally. There's just no way, you know, and I really do believe that so many people get it wrong, even people that consider themselves believers. I just think they get it wrong when it comes to the financial side of things. And I just like to preach, you know, to people that's not how it works, you know, and God wants you to be wealthy. He wants you to use that power for good. And if you really do it the right way, you know, you can go out there and accomplish everything you've wanted. And, you know, I believe that your desires and your purpose, you know, are revealed over time, you know, through him. And so, you know, just kind of preaching that message and helping other entrepreneurs kind of in that space, you know, make the two connections that, hey, you know, you're out there crushing it, and that's awesome, but that's not just you. You know, where do you think you got those gifts from, and, you know, those blessings from, and things like that? It's just really important to me. So kind of taking that message, you know, with me along the journey has been a really big thing that, you know, I've seemed to have a lot of success with, and I've been able to help a lot of people just along the journey, which has been so great. So, you know, that's been something really big for me.
Okay. And I don't know if Helen wanted to get more specific as far as give back, but so for instance, we partner up with like nonprofits and do giveaways and, you know, donate money and time and different things like that. You know, and I feel like as successful entrepreneurs, like we have that responsibility, right? Because if we're going along with some of what you're saying, like, I mean, I feel like we were chosen to an extent. When you that type of, you know, calling put on you, like there's responsibility that comes with it. Too much is given, much is required. Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, when it comes to what you're doing and the successes you've had, and I know one is spreading the message and definitely getting, you know, saying, hey, where do you think this came from? Like, you know, it's not just you. And I also feel like it's not always just about you either. So, do you do any nonprofit work? Like, do you have a certain cause that you'd want people to know about, that you're really into? I know we're big on like, diversity, inclusion, mindset stuff, building up the kids and youth into, being more than what they may even believe they can be, but also being realistic with it, in a Killer Mike kind of way.
Yeah.
So, is there something like that burns inside of you that you do or would like to share?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's kind of two things that I, dedicate some time and energy to. One is, with my local church, I absolutely love it. They're a non-denominational church. The pastor's entrepreneurial minded, very personally developed, and they're just very well connected in the business world, which relates a lot to me. So I do a lot of, giving back to that church and helping them grow. I mean, with that, I would just say for people that, that want to help, it's like help your local church, help your local community, that's where it all starts. And so that's been, a huge thing for me. And then the other one is actually an organization that I came across not too long ago called Compassion. They're pretty big. A lot of people know them. But basically they just help, young kids in other countries that, don't really have anything, that are just like starving and, don't have food, don't have water, don't really have much shelter, maybe don't even have a family, like things like that. And what's cool about that ministry is that, they're a global scale. They're really, really big. They, help tens of thousands of people. And what's cool about it is that you can just sponsor a kid, for like $30 a month or something like that. And it like gives them all of their food, all their water, schooling, all that kind of stuff. And so, it's just a really simple and easy thing to do. And it's cool because they kind of just take care of it all for you. They have the infrastructure and the platform. And so it's just an easy way. A lot of times I hear people say that they just don't have like the, and it's like horrible, but a lot of times people just say they don't have like the time, to go and like serve. And obviously you can always make time for that, but this is a way that you don't even have to, this is a way where you literally can just, cough up $30, $40, $60 a month, whatever you want to do. And you're making a difference. You're actually helping people. So those are kind of two things that I've been doing. And then we actually also do a yearly mission trip to Gary, West Virginia in the United States, which is the poorest city in the entire country. And we go there every year and we, build up the community, and we've kind of established, a relationship with the people there. And so that's another like, more of a hands-on thing that we do, but it's really cool.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love that. And I don't know if I speak for all three of us, but and I know I've been kind of like hogging the mic here, but I definitely say that, I mean, even after this interview offline, I definitely think we have some connecting and building to do for sure, man. I mean, you've been inspirational and informational from start to ending, and nowhere am I saying that like it's over. We still have time if you want to go on some more, but from start to ending, informational and inspirational. So I just want to say an early appreciation of that, because you don't see that everywhere often, and sometimes you don't even see it with people who believe that they've made it, right? Or achieve success. Sometimes there's an air of arrogance somewhere, or they feel like they're better than or more than, and I'm not getting that vibe from you at all. So I definitely would say I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's cool. I love that. That's something I definitely am very aware of. Like I personally try to be aware of, because I know it's just, especially in this space, if you're young, you're making money, you're doing your thing, it's like I see it all the time, and it's just not sustainable, and it's not attractive to me at all, so I'm all about the realness, the rawness, the transparency. Like that's what I believe just truly like relates to people and actually gets through to people.
Awesome.
And I'm here because I love how you say people say they don't have time to do something good, but no one ever says that. I live right now in Seattle. No one ever says that. If people want to say, hey, want to go to the dispensary, or you want to go have some whiskey, no one ever says, I don't have time for that. But when it's like, hey, you want to go inside, the juvenile detention, do you want to go inside, the they don't call it an orphanage anymore, but the group homes, whatnot. And that's kind of how I met Tyson. He was actually a volunteer for me in a program, not getting paid. And so that, working with the youth, whether it's through an organization or just personal, is always something, because I always think that could have been me. I could beat the game. Money isn't my problem. I know there's any game I could beat it to, whether it be the casino or whatnot, but that I'm beating the game the right way. I want to show other folks, you could take all that intelligence that you have, and we do have time to make a difference. Even when we talk about the Christian realm, I love Christian entertainment on its surface. It's just when you start getting deep into it, you're like, oh my goodness, these are the same weirdos from Hollywood that I want to avoid. So I have to create a system, and I call myself a young Al Heyman, so I have to kind of be invisible sometimes to be sane.
Yeah. That's cool. I love that. I love how you said a game as well, because it's my podcast is going to be labeled this game called life, and it's just everything is a game, and there's just rules to the game in every area of life. Everything you do, it's just a game, and if you look at it from that perspective, it just makes life a lot more fun, and you can also win the game and be fulfilled in that area of life. So that's cool. I relate with that.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a good place there, considering you got the game of life meets diversified game, and we're giving game. So, Alex,
there you go.
Any closing remarks before we shove off? Let the people know.
Yeah, man, I just I appreciate all of you guys. This was a lot of fun. I didn't really know what to expect. This was awesome. I'm glad that we were able to make this work. You guys are really cool. I'm excited to share more about your show with my people, and for anyone listening to this that does want to get connected, just go on Instagram, shoot me a DM. Vision Wall is the name of the account, one word, and we'll get connected that way, and we'll go from there.
So I think this is a good place to stop our dialogue for this episode and allow you, the listeners, to join the conversation and keep the dialogue going with us online.
You can do so by visiting our social media at Facebook, Diversified Game Podcast, on Instagram and Twitter, Game Diversified, online, diversifiedgame.com. In your life with the people around you, or join our Patreon and get some nice perks for being involved.
If you found a nugget and or like today's episode, you might as well leave a review. And if you leave a review, you might as well share it. If you share it, you might as well subscribe. And as always, thanks for your support.
Thanks for getting in the game and listening to the Diversified Game Podcast with Kellen, Tyson, and AL. The #1 show pairing entrepreneurship with diverse and inclusive perspectives like wine and cheese, bagel and lox, fish and grits. Be sure to visit diversifiedgame.com for all the good stuff. Join in the conversation and discover more content.